I wore the same dress he once called my angel gown, brought warm snickerdoodles with her name on the tin. But they told me to smile, sit back, and pretend I was just a family friend. She called another woman Grandma. He gave me a tiny wave. And somewhere between the locked door and the untouched cookies, I realized I was being erased. My name is Ellie, and I am 71 years old. I arrived 15 minutes early. The church was still echoing with soft footsteps and whispers. I picked the third pew, same side I always used when Andrew was little. The light through the stained glass flickered across the polished wood. I smoothed the front of my pearl blue dress, the one he'd once called my angel gown, and adjusted the small cookie tin on my lap. Ellie, Bree's voice landed sharp against my ear as she slid in beside me. "Oh, you're here early too." I smiled, gently. She didn't return it, just tapped her phone, then leaned close and said it. "Pretend you're just a family friend today. We don't want confusion." I blinked. "I'm sorry, what?" She tucked her phone into her purse and looked straight ahead. "Just for today. Keeps things simple." "Not even once." "But I'm her grandmother," I whispered. Bree gave a little sigh. "Yes, but Sheila's family is here. It's just easier this way." My fingers curled around the tin. I baked snickerdoodles. She gave a small, polite nod. "That's nice." The music started. People began trickling in. Couples with strollers, Bree's co-workers, her sorority-looking cousins. No one made room on the pew. I stayed pressed to the edge. A woman in her 50s sat beside me and smiled warmly. "You must be family. Are you the grandmother?" I opened my mouth, and I said, "Just a family friend." The words stung my tongue. I felt my own voice betray me. The woman nodded politely, turned away. Bree leaned forward, waving to someone across the aisle. "Oh, Sheila, over here." Sheila, Bree's mother, walked in like she owned the church. Large blue hat, fur shawl. She blew a kiss toward Andrew. Ava was fussing now, and Andrew bounced her gently. "Sheila's going to stand beside us at the baptismal font," Bree whispered. "She's really been part of every step." My throat went dry. "You want me to stay seated?" "I'd prefer that." Silence sat heavier than the hymn that followed. Ava let out a little squeal. I instinctively reached forward from the pew, smiling. "There's Grandma's girl." Bree turned, eyes narrowing. "Please, Ellie, just let us handle today." I nodded once, lowering my hand. The ceremony passed in slow agony. Bree beamed at her guests. Andrew held Ava like a trophy. Sheila dabbed her eyes dramatically. No one looked back at me. At one point, and I could feel the sting of something deeper than embarrassment. When the organ played its final note and the guests began to rise, Bree walked past me without a glance. Sheila gave me a soft smile and said, "Thank you for coming, dear," like I was the mail carrier. Andrew caught my eye for half a second. He gave a tiny wave. A tiny wave. My legs trembled as I stood. I walked out slowly, still clutching the tin. I waited by the church doors, thinking, maybe Ava would reach for me. They passed me in a blur. Bree holding Ava. Andrew adjusting Bree's coat. Sheila clutching the gift bag with a look of ownership. I took a breath. "Andrew," I called softly. He paused. "Hey, Mum. Thanks for coming, okay? Bree's a little overwhelmed, so I'm just a friend now?" His face tightened. "Don't make this about you. It's not the time. Is there ever a time, Andrew? He glanced over his shoulder at Bree, then back to me. We'll talk later. He didn't mean it. They walked away. A small girl ran past me, laughing, trailing bubbles behind her from a toy wand. I watched the shimmer float through the air, then disappear. I looked down at the cookie tin. My hands had left sweaty marks on the metal. I placed it gently on the church steps and walked away. I never looked back to see if they picked it up. Let me help set the table, I said, reaching for the stack of paper plates on the counter. Bree turned from the sink, that practiced smile plastered on her face. Oh, no need, Ellie. The hired help is already on it. I froze, my fingers still hovering over the plates. I don't mind, I said quietly. Just wanted to be useful. She laughed lightly, like I'd told a joke. Really? We've got it covered. Just relax. Relax. That word always tasted bitter in my mouth when it came from her. Andrew walked in, holding Ava on his hip. Hey, Mom, did you find the cookies you brought? We put them coming, she chirped. Then she spotted me. Ellie, you made it. So glad you could join us. She gave me a side hug with one arm while holding her mimosa with the other. You look lovely, very soft. Thank you, I replied. She looked me up and down before floating out of the kitchen. I turned to Andrew. Where would you like me to sit? He glanced toward Bree, who was checking her phone. Just grab a spot, Mum. Wherever's fine. I walked through the living room and into the back den. A folding table sat near the patio door, half lit by sun. On it were 2 half-empty bottles of soda, plastic forks still sealed in their sleeves, and a wrinkled paper sign that read overflow seating. The chairs were metal, unpadded. A group of Bree's distant cousins sat there, laughing and scrolling through their phones. I took the end seat, nearest the trash bin. From here, I could see the head table perfectly. Sheila in the center, laughing loudly, holding Ava while Bree cooed over her. Andrew sat beside them, beaming. He looked so proud. No one looked toward me. Someone cleared their throat nearby. I turned to see Ava toddling my way, chubby legs moving fast, holding something in her hand. Miss Ellie, she said, holding out a crumpled napkin. My heart stopped. I took the napkin and tried to smile. Thank you, sweetheart. She beamed, then turned and ran back toward Bree. Miss Ellie, not Grandma, not even Nana, just Miss Ellie. I looked at my name tag, a folded place card with my name spelled right, but not a title, just Ellie. I tucked it into my purse. Across the room, Bree leaned over and kissed Sheila on the cheek. Couldn't have done any of this without you, she said loud enough for everyone to hear. You've always got me, darling, Sheila replied. Andrew raised his glass. To the woman who taught Bree everything she knows about being a mom. They all toasted. I took a sip of warm soda. One of the young cousins leaned toward me. So how do you know the family? I stared at her, blinking. I'm Ava's grandmother, I said slowly. Oh, she tilted her head. I thought that was the lady at the front table. I smiled politely. She's the other one. Oh, the girl nodded, not really listening, already back on her phone. Bree came around, passing out slices of vanilla cake. She skipped my end. A minute later, one of the servers, a young man in a white apron, placed a slice down in front of me. Here you go, ma'am, he said gently. Thank you, he smiled. You okay over here? I nodded. I'm fine. He lingered for a second, then moved on. I watched Ava climb onto Sheila's lap. She reached up and touched her necklace, then giggled. Careful, Sheila said. This one's real gold. Grandma's got taste. Ava repeated, Grandma! Bree laughed. She loves her real grandma. Andrew didn't say anything. I excused myself and walked to the back patio. The sun was warm, but I felt cold. A breeze picked up. It rustled the paper plates. One flew off the table and landed at my feet. I bent to pick it up, and I kept holding it, just staring. My son used to draw smiley faces on paper plates when he was 5. We'd save them on the fridge. For a week once, he insisted on using one as his dinner crown. I folded the plate in half and slipped it into my purse, not because I needed it, but because I needed something. When I stepped back inside, no one noticed. And maybe that was easier than being seen the wrong way. I stayed until the last crumb of cake was gone. Then I left without saying goodbye. I stood at the bottom of the staircase, looking up. "Just grabbing my coat?" I called out softly. No one answered. The reception was winding down. Kids were shrieking outside, balloons bobbing in the breeze. Inside, someone had put on light jazz. Bree's voice floated from the kitchen, laughing too hard at something Sheila said. Andrew was nowhere in sight. I climbed the stairs slowly, careful not to make noise on the creaky step near the middle. The guest room door was open, neat, untouched. My coat wasn't on the hook where I'd left it. I checked the bed. The floral cover was smooth, unwrinkled. No coat. My eyes drifted toward the master bedroom at the end of the hallway. I walked over and turned the handle. Locked. I tried again, softly jiggling it. Still locked. I stood there for a moment, hand still on the knob, like maybe the door would change its mind and open for me. Why would they lock it? During a family gathering? I turned away. The laundry room was cracked open. I peeked inside. There, on top of a basket of towels, was my coat, balled up, like it had been tossed. I pulled it out, wrinkled, a button missing. And something else caught my eye. My cookie tin, resting beside the dryer, still full, not even opened. I picked it up, fingers trembling slightly. The label, Snickerdoodles for Ava, was half peeled off. I heard voices downstairs and gently shut the laundry door behind me. As I reached the landing, I paused. Bree was speaking, not loud, but clear enough to carry. "She's old but not stupid," she said, her tone clipped. "We're almost there." A pause. Laughter. "Just need a little more time," she added. Another voice, softer, a woman I didn't recognize. "She still thinks she's involved?" I let her believe what she needs to. It's cleaner that way. I stood frozen. My hand tightened around the tin. I turned and went back down, heart quiet but sharp in my chest. I didn't say goodbye. The elevator in my building rattled as it rose. 3rd floor. Hall smelled like microwaved soup and bleach. I unlocked the door to my apartment. Small, clean, quiet. I set the tin down on the kitchen table, then sat on the edge of my twin bed. My shoes were still on. Outside, someone's TV blared a commercial. Laughter. I stared at the tin. The ribbon I had tied now looked childish. I opened it. The cookies were still warm when I'd packed them. Now they sat stiff, cold, untouched. Just like me. I placed the lid back on, slower this time. A knock came at the door. I didn't move. Another knock. Then a voice. "It's Martha. I saw your light." I walked over and opened the door. Martha stepped in, wrapped in her house robe, holding 2 mugs of tea. "I figured you haven't eaten." I nodded. "Thanks." She handed me a mug. "So," she said, settling onto the chair near the window. "How'd it go?" I sat across from her. She looked at me gently. Did they treat you right today? I held the mug in both hands. I didn't answer. We sat in silence, the kind that doesn't need to be filled. Outside, the wind picked up and pressed against the windows. Martha sipped her tea. You always come back smaller after you visit them. I gave a faint smile. That obvious? She nodded. Only to people who notice you. My eyes dropped to the tin on the table. I said, they locked their bedroom, moved my coat, didn't even open the cookies. Martha raised an eyebrow. Why? I shook my head slowly. I don't know. But part of me did. A very quiet part. She reached over and patted my hand. I'm glad you came home early. I stared at the tea swirling in my mug. Something inside me had shifted. Not shattered. Not yet. But the crack was real now, and I couldn't unhear what I'd heard. I didn't finish the tea. I just sat there, listening to the crack grow wider. I need to ask about the trust, I said, gripping the edge of Monica's desk. She looked up from her computer, eyes softening. Of course. Sit down, Ellie. I lowered myself into the leather chair, knees aching, fingers still trembling from the morning's coffee. Or maybe from something deeper. I know this is strange, I said, but something feels off. She folded her hands. Tell me. Harold set it up for Ava. He was clear, untouched until she turned 21. I never looked at the statements, but now, I don't know. Something doesn't feel right. Monica gave a gentle nod. Let me pull the file. She turned to her screen, typing. The room filled with the quiet rhythm of keys. I stared at the bookshelf behind her. Old binders, thick with family names I recognized from church. Names with roots. I saw my coat in their laundry room, I blurted. Locked out of their bedroom, cookies untouched. Monica paused. What do you mean? Just things feel different now. I overheard Bree say something. About me. About getting close. Her lips pressed into a flat line. You think they're accessing the trust? I don't know what I think, but I need to know. She clicked a few more times, then stopped. Her face changed. Ellie. What? She turned the screen toward me. These are the last 6 months of activity. I leaned in. Withdrawal after withdrawal. 10,000. 15. Another labeled renovation advance. One marked family needs. Bree's name. Andrew's signature. That can't be right, I whispered. That money was supposed to be for Ava. They amended the usage clause, Monica said. Last year. With both guardians signing, they can access the funds under certain conditions. But I didn't sign anything. You weren't listed as a trustee. I felt the room spin. My coat. The cookie tin. Miss Ellie. Now, this. They're laundering it, Monica continued, calling it family upgrades. I've seen it before. New kitchen, private school, prep, luxury car for safe transport. It's all about how they frame it. And there's no oversight, not unless someone challenges it. I sat back. How much is left? Less than 5%. I swallowed. They drained it? She nodded slowly. It's nearly gone. I pressed my hand to my chest. Ellie, Monica said softly. I can file a freeze. We'll have to show potential abuse, but I'll need you to be sure. This will cause tension. Tension? I said, a bitter laugh slipping out. Monica, I've already been erased from birthday tables and pews. There's no harmony left to disturb. She didn't respond. I looked down at my hands. I told Harold I wouldn't touch it, and I didn't, not once. You kept your promise, she said. They didn't. Silence. I finally looked up. File the freeze, Monica nodded. I'll start tonight. Back in my apartment. I didn't take off my shoes. I just stood in the kitchen, staring at the wall. The silence was thicker now. Not grief, not shock. something colder. I pulled out the trust folder Monica had given me. Highlighted lines. Bree's signature in perfect cursive. Andrew's just below it, still looping his A the same way he did in middle school. My son's name. On the paper that stole my husband's last gift. The oven clock blinked 4:37 p.m. I walked to the window. A bird landed on the railing. Thin, grey, alert. It flew off a moment later. I stood there long after it was gone. They didn't just erase me from the family. They erased the promise I made to him. Sheila really wants you there, Bree had said on the phone. It'll mean a lot. I said yes, but only because I wanted to see where the things had gone. I knew something had moved. I just didn't know how much. Sheila's backyard was trimmed and perfect, like a magazine cover. Not a single leaf out of place. Guests milled about in pastel cardigans and linen pants, sipping champagne from tall glasses, laughing in that light, showy way people do when nothing is truly funny. Sheila spotted me from the porch. "Ellie, over here!" I walked toward her, smiling tight. "Thanks for the invite." "Of course," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. "I told Bree we had to have you. You're practically family." Practically. She didn't hear me. Come in," she waved toward the sunroom. "I want you to see my new decor. Tell me what you think." The moment I stepped inside, I saw them. My paintings. The seascapes Harold had bought on our honeymoon. They used to hang in our living room, above the fireplace. Then later, in the hallway, after we downsized. Now they were here, in gold-trimmed frames Sheila had clearly added herself. She followed my gaze. "Lovely, aren't they?" she said, swirling her drink. Bree said they didn't quite match her new aesthetic, but I thought they were charming. Couldn't let them sit in storage. "They weren't in storage," I said. "They were in my home." "Oh," she smiled. "Well, I assumed they were, donated." Bree said they'd been left behind. I didn't answer. Instead, I walked slowly through the room, scanning the walls. The small oil painting of the lake, the one Andrew used to point at as a child, saying it looked like Papa's pond, now sitting beneath a fake ivy garland. "Ellie, you okay?" I turned. "Fine." Sheila laughed lightly. "You're so sentimental. It's sweet." Bree appeared then, holding a platter of fruit tarts. "Mom, the lemon ones are almost gone." "Coming," Sheila said. Then to me, "You'll love what I'm wearing today. Wait till you see it." I followed them outside. Tables were set under umbrellas, all perfectly arranged. A woman I didn't know asked me to scoot down to make room. I ended up next to the drink station. Bree placed a tart in front of me. "Hope you're not allergic to almonds. These are Mum's favorite." "I'm fine," I said. She leaned in, just enough. "Glad you could make it. We weren't sure you'd come after everything." I looked at her. "What exactly is everything, Bree?" She blinked. "Nothing, just with the trust and all. Andrew said you were feeling tense." I held her gaze. "Andrew knows exactly how I feel." Before she could respond, Sheila returned, beaming. "Look at this brooch," she said, lifting her scarf to reveal a small, pearled pin. "Got it from this little vintage dealer downtown. Isn't it divine?" My stomach turned. I knew that brooch. The gold was worn at the edge, the clasp slightly loose. I used to fix it with a tiny safety pin. It was my mother's. She wore it every Easter. It was mine after she passed. It had been in the red velvet box, top drawer of my dresser. I gripped the edge of my purse so tight my knuckles went white. "Where did you say you got it?" I asked. Sheila laughed. "Oh, somewhere on Oak Avenue. Bree found it actually. said it reminded her of something old-fashioned and sweet. Bree smiled across the table, lips curled just enough. I looked straight at her. It was my mother's. Bree sipped her champagne. Well, if it was left behind, I never gave it away. Oh, she said softly, still smiling. Then maybe someone thought it was meant to be passed on. Sheila blinked, unsure. Oh, Ellie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It looks lovely on you, I said, forcing a smile. Oh, well, thank you. The table went quiet for a moment, and then someone clinked a glass, trying to shift the mood. But I didn't stop watching Bree. She didn't look away. Something inside me snapped. Not loud, not messy, just final. Not a heartbreak, a closing. I picked up my fork, tapped the tart. Delicious, I murmured. Bree leaned forward slightly, still smiling. You're being so graceful about all this. I'm not being graceful, I said quietly. I'm just getting very clear. She blinked. Sorry? I looked at the brooch one more time, then back at her. Enjoy your brunch. Then I turned toward my purse, folded my napkin neatly, and stood. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't need to anymore. The courthouse air always smelled like paper and dust. I pressed the elevator button with the edge of my folder. The motion to freeze the trust was filed. Monica had done her part. Now it was my turn to wait. The doors opened. A young woman stepped in, carrying Ava. My breath caught. Her curls were messy from sleep, one sock slipping off. She looked up at me with her wide, hazel eyes, Harold's eyes. My throat tightened. The woman shifted. Sorry, 3? I nodded. Yes, same floor. Ava reached for the elevator buttons. The woman gently guided her hand down. Not that one, baby. She's grown, I said quietly. The woman turned. You know her? I smiled faintly. Yes, I'm her grandmother. The woman blinked. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize you. I just started last week. I'm Carla. Nice to meet you, Carla. She mentioned you were distant. I looked at Ava. I raised her father. Distant doesn't describe it. Carla swallowed. Ava rested her head against her shawl. She said not to let you pick her up, Carla added, voice low. I nodded slowly. Of course she did. Silence filled the elevator. The hum of the motor. The soft creak of cables. Carla shifted Ava on her hip. But she never really explained why. I imagine she didn't. Carla glanced at me, her voice lowered. They say things when you're not there. I'm aware. No, I mean really cruel things. I didn't respond. The elevator dinged. Second floor. She hesitated, then stepped out. Before the doors could close, she turned back and held something out. A folded note, slightly wrinkled. I didn't write it down to gossip, she said. I just thought you should know. I took it. Thank you. Ava looked at me one more time before Carla turned and walked down the hallway. The elevator doors slid shut. I waited until I got home. I sat at the kitchen table, unfolded the note with slow fingers. She says you make everything about you, that you're clingy and outdated. Andrew never defends you. Sheila says you're just a phase they have to outlive. They laugh about how confused you look when they hide things in plain sight. Bree said, she's old, she won't fight. My hand trembled. At the bottom, in Carla's neat handwriting, were 3 final words. But I see you. I stared at the paper a long time. Then I reached for the tea kettle. The water hissed. The room stayed silent. And I thought, there's someone in their house who still sees me. It was Martha who told me first. She knocked twice before letting herself in, holding her iPad like it was something fragile. "I thought you should see this," she said, "before someone else does." The screen showed a bright, glittery ad on Facebook. Ava's first birthday party. Saturday afternoon. Theme: Wonderland. Complete with catered food, a magician, and a professional photographer. Location: the same park where Andrew learned to ride a bike. I stared at it. My name wasn't listed. Martha cleared her throat. "Maybe it's just a mistake." "It's not," I said, my voice flat. She glanced at me. "You want me to help you pick out a gift?" I shook my head. I already have something better in mind. I called Monica that afternoon. She answered on the second ring. "Ellie? It's time." Silence. Then, "I'll prepare the documents." The next morning, my phone rang. Bree. I let it go to voicemail, then listened on speaker as I folded laundry. "Hi, Ellie," she chirped. "I know it's been a little hectic, but we've been thinking about you. Ava's party is coming up. I'm sure you heard. But we're keeping it very small this year. Just family and a few close friends. We'd love to see you soon, though. Let's plan a lunch, maybe. Hope you're well." Click. I folded the last towel and placed it on the stack. Then I opened my laptop and printed a single sheet of paper. Not glossy, not pastel. Just black ink and a court seal. A subpoena. My invitation. Saturday arrived with clear skies and just enough wind to ruffle paper streamers. I parked across the street and stayed in the car, windows cracked. Bree stood at the center of it all, wearing a sundress the color of frosting, holding Ava like a stage prop. Andrew handed out gift bags. Sheila clinked champagne glasses with strangers. They had balloons, a dessert table, even someone dressed as a rabbit. I waited until the puppet show started. ... Then the courier arrived. He walked straight across the grass, past the games, through the decorations, and right up to Bree. "Delivery for Bree Whitmore," he said, just loud enough. She turned, still smiling. The moment she saw the envelope, her face froze. People noticed. Eyes shifted. She tried to laugh it off. "Oh, how funny," during the party. But her voice cracked halfway through. She opened the envelope anyway. I could see her lips tighten. She looked around, like maybe someone had played a trick. Then she looked right at Andrew, and he looked down. I didn't stay to watch the rest. Didn't wait for the magician, or the balloon annals, or the fake family speeches. I backed out of the parking spot and drove home. I never needed their invitation. I brought my own. ... The church smelled like lilies again. Same polished floors. Same flickering candles. Same glass Jesus watching from above. But this time, it wasn't a baptism or a wedding. This time, it was for Andrew. A promotion ceremony. Some special blessing for new leaders. Bree had arranged it, of course. Everything had her fingerprints on it. I arrived early, but not first. Just early enough to see the seating chart taped to the glass doors. My name wasn't listed. I didn't flinch. I stepped inside and took the second pew from the front. Not the back like last time. Not off to the side. Second row. Center. Bree spotted me from across the aisle. Her smile faltered like a flame meeting wind. She walked over, heels sharp on the tile. "Ellie," she said, quiet and tight, "you can't be here." "I'm not breaking any laws," I replied. "The judge hasn't ruled yet. You have no standing." I reached into my purse and handed her a folded paper. What is this? Notarized witness statement. Flo. Her face paled. I handed her another. And those, I added, are the updated financial records Monica found, including the ones from the joint account under Ava's name. Her hand shook as she opened them. Checkmate, I whispered. She looked up at me. You think this changes anything? It already has. Her jaw clenched. You're making a scene. I smiled. Not yet. The priest cleared his throat at the altar. Please rise for the opening prayer. Everyone stood, except Bree. She collapsed into the pew behind me, paper still in hand, eyes wide like glass. Andrew turned from the front to look at her, confused. Then he saw me. I held his gaze just long enough. He didn't look away, but he didn't come over either. I turned forward, folded my hands, and sat exactly where I belonged. Not in the back, not behind anyone, just present, just seen. The second pew had never felt so steady beneath me. The garden bloomed slowly that spring, like it had been waiting on me to breathe again. Lavender by the fence, peonies by the porch. Harold and I planted them years ago, in silence and in laughter. They still came back, even after everything else had been taken, replaced, repainted. Some roots don't forget where they were first loved. That morning, I was clipping the dry ends off a rosebush when I heard the gate creak open. Hello? Carla called out gently. I turned and smiled. Come in. Ava waddled through the gate like a tiny queen, her curls bouncing, her hands already full of something, a plastic spoon and a pine cone. Carla followed behind, bag over her shoulder. Hope it's still okay to come by. She's been asking. It's always okay, I said. You both are always welcome here. Carla sat on the low step near the porch. She's been saying more words lately, new ones every day. Has she said the big one yet? I asked, voice soft. She smiled. You'll see. We sat quietly for a while. The sun touched the side of Ava's face. She tapped her spoon against the wood slat of the bench and hummed something out of tune. How are you really? Carla asked. Lighter, I said. Not fixed, but lighter. She nodded. Bree hasn't said much. They left town like they were running, but pretending they weren't. I don't need them to explain, I said. Silence tells you enough. We both looked at Ava, who was now crouched near the flower bed, pretending to cook something in the dirt. She still has your nose, Carla said. I chuckled. Poor child. She's lucky. She has part of you. Ava stood suddenly and walked toward me. Help? She asked, holding out the spoon. I leaned down to take it, but she didn't let go. Instead, she looked up at me. Grandma, she said. Clee. Not a nickname, not a mistake, not Miss Ellie, just Grandma. Carla's hand flew to her mouth. I didn't move right away. I just stared at Ava, as if the sound was still hanging in the air, and I didn't want to break it. Then I crouched down, met her at eye level, and whispered, I'm right here. She smiled. Treasure? I nodded. Let's find more. She ran off, giggling. Carla's eyes were full. That was the first time. She's never called anyone that. She knew, I said. She always knew. The breeze lifted the edge of my sleeve. The lavender shifted like breath. I sat back down on the bench and watched her dance in the dirt. Not for show, not to prove anything. Just to breathe. Just to be seen. real. Some roots survive, and some finally bloom.
Hit the like button, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe for more true feeling stories about silent strength and second chances. Your voice matters, just like hers did.